Welcome to day 2. I'm calling this video What Not to Do When Accessing Your Gifts and the number one block to honing your abilities. I'm going to share with you exactly what this block is in a moment, but first let's talk about why this is important. And in order to do this, I want to quote one of our most famous geniuses in history, and that is Albert Einstein. Now, genius Albert Einstein says this: the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. All right? So the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Let's break that down real quick, because Albert Einstein is really sharing a big nugget of wisdom here when it comes to accessing your psychic abilities. First of all, the intuitive mind, right? He says the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. So what's the intuitive mind? Well, in this case, he's referring to your own natural intuition, your gifts and abilities. And Einstein is saying this is sacred, right? It's the sacred gift. He goes on to say that the rational mind is a faithful servant. And what's this rational mind? Well, it's that part of you that thinks, right? It's that thinking mind. It's when you're thinking, right? And that's done with the rational mind. So Einstein is referring to two totally different minds, right? Number one, the intuitive mind, and then the second mind, which is the rational mind. And he's saying that the intuitive mind is sacred and that the rational mind should be more of a servant. He goes on to say, we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Right? So what does he mean by this? He's saying that we tend to give more value to the servant, right? Or that thinking mind or that rational mind. And you see that a lot, right? Oh, he's such a great thinker, right? We tend to give more value to that than we do to actually giving a lot of value to the gift, which is our intuitive mind or our intuitive gifts, right? So how often do you see, like in the business world, oh, he's such a great intuitive? Like you just don't hear that. So sure, Albert Einstein was one of the greatest thinkers of all time. But, I kind of suspect that from his quote and other quotes of his, if you read some of his other quotes, he's definitely someone who's tapped into his intuition, and he's definitely someone who knew how to tap into his own gifts. Now, going back to the concept of the blocks, right? He also gave a hint as to what the blocks are to your natural gifts and intuitive abilities. And when I, name the title of this video, right, the number one block and what not to do in accessing your gifts. Well, Einstein, right, genius Einstein just pointed it out. You must honor your intuitive mind and not your rational mind. In other words, what's this number one block? Well, this number one block is overthinking. Okay, it's when you're overthinking. If you're overthinking, then that's the block. All right, funny, when I work with students, the moment I see them do this, right, they're literally like, right, they're putting their hand on their chin. They're automatically thinking, right? They're no longer in their psychic space, right? They're in the thinking space now because they're literally going, I'm thinking about them, right? And, for many of them, when they're overthinking, just like Einstein said, if you honor more of your rational mind than the intuitive mind, then you've literally just lost connection to your gifts, right? So when the students are like, I wonder what that means. I wonder what's going on, right? Literally, I'm witnessing the students like, you're not in your psychic space. Look at you. You're like that. And the students are like, oh yeah. Okay, wait, hold on. Now, what's funny is for those of you trying to analyze, right, what the heck I'm talking about, really, you just got to stop it. Right? You got to stop thinking, Literally stop thinking that you can access your gifts by thinking about it more. Now, here's something for you to consider when looked at another way. Think about this. Or don't think about this. When someone comes into your consciousness from out of nowhere, right? And then 5 minutes later, they call you. Were you thinking about it in that moment? No, you weren't, right? Or you get some sign like 1111. Then you've learned, you've learned to figure out that, oh, it's a sign, right? It means that I'm being watched over, or my guardian angel is watching over me, right? But the thing is, for many of you, you got that sign 1111, like you saw it on a clock, or maybe it just showed up on a receipt, right? The price was $11.11. But the thing is, were you thinking about it in that moment? No, you weren't. You weren't thinking, right? And yet, many of you are asking yourselves, I got this sign. What does it mean? Right? So even just to break that down a little bit, right? I got this sign. In other words, you weren't thinking. You just got it. The sign came out of nowhere, right? And then the minute you ask, what does it mean? Literally, you're thinking about it. You literally moved out of your intuitive mind and into your thinking mind literally in an instant. Do y'all get that? And to add, right, yesterday we talked about how the body can freak out when things are unfamiliar. Then you get into even more thinking about it, thinking about it, right? It's no wonder why you can't access your gifts. You're literally using the wrong mind, the rational mind, instead of using the intuitive mind in order to access your gifts. Now, I want to take it one layer deeper, right? So that you truly get what I'm trying to illustrate here. And I want to give a computer analogy. The thinking mind, like Einstein says, is think of the thinking mind as a computer from 10 or 15 years ago, right? And imagine trying to run today's programs on a computer from 10 years ago. Literally, that computer processor just can't handle all that data that these newer programs demand. And if you've ever tried running like the new version of Windows on an old computer, and I have, right? And there I am trying to run this. When the new version of Windows 10 came out on my old computer, my computer just froze, right? Or it just took forever to even boot up. And yet, with that analogy, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to process this big, wide world of psychic energy and psychic phenomena literally with the wrong computer processor, right? You're trying to use the thinking mind, which is like that computer from 10 years ago. And it's no wonder why you're blocked. On the flip side, the intuitive mind is like a supercomputer, right? The super duper computer that can handle, millions and millions and millions of bits per second. And it can handle all this information almost instantly, right? Almost instantly compared to the thinking mind. And the other part of that, it's all happening in the background, right? Whether you're actively thinking or not, right? So this is precisely why we tell ourselves sometimes, I'm just going to sleep on this, right? Have you ever told yourself that? You're working on something, you're a little stuck, and you're like, I'm just going to sleep on this. Literally what you're doing is you're handing off what would have been used, where you would have used your energy in your thinking mind, and you're letting your intuitive mind take over instead, literally by not thinking about it anymore. Now, if you had a choice, right? Tap into a computer from 10 years ago or a supercomputer, right? What would you choose? Well, your intuitive mind is already like a supercomputer. It already is a gift. And it's no wonder why Einstein said the thinking mind should be the faithful servant and not the gift. Instead, we've just become slaves, right? We become slaves to our rational mind. Imagine what could happen, right, if we just learn to trust the gift, where you could just learn to trust your intuition even more. Imagine what a world that would be. All right, well, we're almost done with this video. One more thing that I want to add is something totally ironic here. And if you're an overthinker, right, I totally get it, right? Because we want to figure things out. We just want to figure it all out. And so we get into overthinking. The ironic part is that I actually have a master's degree in quality systems management, which is actually an engineering degree, right? And if you can imagine, I'm a classic overthinker. And yet when I used to work in the world of corporate, I did tap into my intuition often. And in addition, right, in addition to using my thinking mind, I used both. The key here for everyone is learning to tell the difference. Like, oh, I'm in my rational mind right now versus, okay, I'm in my intuitive mind right now. I'm not thinking, okay, right? And when you can learn how to do that on demand, right? When you could just tap into your intuitive mind, right? That's when the magic happens. And just consider that if you are feeling blocked in any way, shape, or form, then you're probably in your rational mind and not your intuitive mind. And just know, I'm just going to leave you with this. Just know, you literally cannot be in both places at the same time. All right, so that's all for today. As a reminder, before this training shuts down completely after the 5 days are up, I will be sharing with you the path to trusting your gifts even more so that you can tap into your intuitive mind more on demand and at will. And I'll be making that special offer to those who are just excited to learn and want to elevate your gifts even more and to practice tapping into your gifts at will and on demand. And like I mentioned yesterday, having those opportunities to practice is super important for how you honor your body. All right, so I'd love for you to comment below. Where are you at? Are you an overthinker? How would it be for you if you could access your intuitive mind more often? How would that look for you? And stay tuned for tomorrow, where I'll talk more about what everyone needs, but what not many people talk about, and that is honoring your psychic boundaries and psychic protection. All right, I look forward to seeing those comments coming in. I keep an eye out on the action takers, and I look out for the comments and questions in there. So I'll definitely be paying attention to all that. If you have any questions, again, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, I will see you in tomorrow's video. All right, bye now.